Oh yeah, baby. This is the moment that everybody's been waiting for. You guys have been anticipating this drop, and now it is finally here. That's right. Goosebumps Season 2, the 2025 show called The Vanishing, has now dropped all of its 8 episodes on Hulu for everybody to go out there and watch, and I am finally diving into it now. So today I'm going to be reviewing the very first episode, which is Stay Out of the Basement Part 1, which is why your boy is rocking the green, because you know that it's going to involve some plant action for the first story. For those of you who don't know, I am the Horror Lander. What's up, my people and patrons of the night? If you guys don't know already, I cover a bunch of different horror content: adult horror, young adult horror, kids horror, and with the emphasis on kids horror, I started off this channel making Goosebumps videos, reviewing the books, reviewing the episodes. So this is sort of a big deal. Everybody is sort of anticipating Goosebumps content creators to dive into the show, and I know that you guys are expecting me. So, not going to hold you to it any longer. If you guys like this type of content, go down to my channel and check out some of my other videos. But without further ado, let's pull out the red cape. Let's get ready for this conquistador action, because now we're diving into episode 1. The plot of this episode opens up with a local urban legend in New York, which basically is setting the foundation for this show to start up on. This opens up with a group of teenagers who basically sneak into this secret military bunker that has some sort of ominous vibes behind it, because it's said to be that there's some weird experiments going on. People are sort of paranoid and making some gossip around the town and city. So now these teenagers are breaking in on a dare to go check it out. Obviously, they see that it's very sort of rustic, there's a creepy vibe to it, and unfortunately for these teenagers, they have an unexpected factor which kicks in. That factor is that the main leader of the group, named Maddie, I believe, he has a younger brother named Anthony who basically comes in and sneaks in to this underground bunker without them knowing. Maddie obviously is very frustrated and very angry, but next thing you know, there is a trap door inside of this military bunker which basically opens up and releases this sort of weird blackish spore that ends up hitting Maddie. And next thing you know, you see a horrific sequence where this black sporish substance starts bleeding out of his eyes as this black goo. And next thing you know, as a sort of venom symbiote kind of imagery, this black goo starts rapidly expanding through Maddie's body, covering him like tar, and it has an acidic effect where it starts melting the flesh off of his body until he becomes a skeleton and dies on the spot. This is obviously a very traumatic opening, and it sets up the vibe to this story, because unknowingly, this group of teens had basically gotten into something that they should have not got their hands into. There was clearly something that was being kept within this military bunker. It had released, claimed some lives, and now you know that it's going to be setting up for that mystery to be unveiled later with the new group. Now you cut to 30 years later with the two main characters, a group of twin siblings named Devin and Cece. Devin and Cece are going to go meet their father, whose name is Anthony Brewer, and you soon find out that, yes, this was the younger brother of Maddie, who had snuck into the military bunker 30 years ago. They're staying with their father because their parents are having a divorce, and now they're spending time with them. I believe they're in Brooklyn at his local suburb house, and they're just going to be spending that summertime with him, kind of getting some bonding experience, enjoying this new area, and hopefully meeting some new people. You then get introduced as sort of Devin and Cece establish their relationship with their father. It's sort of distant. There is this awkwardness there present throughout it, but their father is sort of this renowned botanist. He studies a lot of different plant life. That's his main source of research. And you then see that Devin and Cece are also getting acclimated to the town of Brooklyn as they're going around and meeting some of the local people, as well as some of the local teenagers who they soon sort of befriend and get into a situation where they have to go back and visit that military bunker that was abandoned for these 30 years after the original teenagers went missing, because Devin basically wants to impress one of the girls that he's had a crush on for a long time. And when they find out that his uncle, Maddie, was the one who had disappeared and died all those years ago, he basically puts the pressure on himself to go there and sort of prove that he's brave, to investigate this abandoned military bunker with him. And of course, as you can expect, that's going to have some dangerous repercussions. You also get introduced to a side plot line where basically Anthony Brewer, Dr. Brewer, has essentially gotten the clothes, the evidence from 30 years ago of Maddie. A local cop had basically given it to him, so now he's taking it down within his basement to go study. And he makes an emphasis to, stay out of the basement. For those of you who know that Goosebumps book, yeah, you know the title. He's got his plants down there and he's researching Maddie's clothes, hopefully trying to find some clues. And then those two storylines are now going to basically converge with each other as Devin has a freaky encounter down in the military bunker where the same trapdoor ends up opening up after one of the guys basically tampers with the power box and the spores hit him and he starts bleeding out of his eyes, that same black goo that Maddie had, and he sees down in the trapdoor an image of Maddie when he was younger, polluted by this black symbiote goo, sporish kind of entity. You then see that Dr. Brewer towards the end of the episode ends up basically investigating Maddie's clothes, and now the spores basically make contact with one of the plant life inside of his basement and then starts mutating the plant life. That's essentially the plot line. Not going to go too much into the details because I want you guys to go check it out and watch it. It is brand new and obviously there's going to be closure because this is a season where it's not anthology. This season is anthology in the sense that it's completely separate from the storyline of the first season. But this season has its own continuing storyline. So each episode's going to be building off of each other, playing off of each other with the same group of characters. Overall, what are my thoughts about this episode? Well, first let's get into the strengths and then I'll get into the weaknesses. The strengths of this episode are definitely David Schwimmer as Anthony Brewer. He does an amazing job. I like his acting. He has that very good sort of awkward, standoffish kind of personality, except you see that he's trying to bond with his kids, trying to get their trust and kind of be a good dad in their lives. It kind of reminds me of that one character from Cloverfield Lane, I believe. I forgot the name. Was it John Goodman who played him? I forgot the name. Apologies if I forget the name of that actor. But he kind of played this awkward dad role. Obviously, it was a different situation in that movie. But that same sort of awkward intensity, you get that from David Schwimmer to a lesser degree. Because obviously, I'm comparing a blockbuster movie with a hit actor to a 2025 Hulu show. I mean, you can't expect the best acting, but for what David Schwimmer is, I do enjoy his acting and that sort of presence and role. I also enjoy Devin and Cece's interaction with their father. When they're on screen together, you get that more sort of cheesy, corny acting and jokes that was putting smiles on my face. I did giggle a few times kind of at some of the jokes because they caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that sort of typical Goosebumps humor out of the dad and the two siblings, but it does occur when they're on screen with each other, and I do kind of enjoy their banter when they're a trio. You also have a side character, one of the teenagers they meet, who I believe his name's CJ. He's an African-American guy who is the son of one of the ladies who's running a local restaurant, and he's sort of the delivery boy, kind of delivering food to everybody. I enjoy his personality. His humor is actually pretty good, and the dialogue they gave him is pretty good as well. He feels like the most natural teenager out of all of them. Devin and Cece have their own kind of personalities and stuff. Cece's is more sort of played up, but I'll get into that. But CJ feels the most natural. I like him when he's on screen. He's charismatic, and I hope we get more screen time with him. I don't know if we will, but I'm enjoying his presence within the show. You also get some of the disturbing scenes, which I know you guys are looking forward to. That first scene in the beginning where Maddie's skin was melting off with this acidic tar-like venom substance. That was quite horrific, and seeing that happen was pretty crazy as kind of like an opening scene for this episode. You also do get some plant action. Not going to go into too much detail about it, but it does get pretty wild. You got some people getting flung around, dragged into sewer drains. If you've seen the trailer, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And yeah, those are sort of the positives with the episode. I also have to say that the relationship between Devin and Anthony Brewer is pretty good. I like the father-son relationship with them. Devin sort of shares the same type of awkwardness that Dr. Brewer has, and at the same time, he kind of looks like his older brother, Maddie, who had died within that instance back in the military fort. So that connection kind of draws them together, and I feel like they sort of have that awkward kind of sympathetic charm between each other, and I do like when they're together as well. Now on to the negatives. The main negatives I have with this very first episode is that, just to say up front, it's not that big bang of an episode that you're kind of expecting. Don't expect big flashy scenes like when the first season you had that football scene. It's sort of more drawn out. It has slower pacing at certain points, which kind of makes you kind of prod and kind of make you feel like, okay, kind of hurry it up. There are a little bit of parts that are kind of dragging and feels like just sort of filler in a sense. So I did feel like it could have gone with a bigger bang at certain points. But the main weakness I have is the actual teenager group. Their dialogue and appearances are just not good. They're just, I'm sorry, they're not good.
Literal doo-doo water? Literal doo-doo water.
That's not a dig at the actors or actresses. I'm sure you guys are good actors or actresses, same as the instance was the first season. But the dialogue is just cringy. There's like moments where Devin is going to go meet his old crush Frankie, and he's like debating with his sister to use the word bussin', because bussin' is basically retro, I guess. And he's like, he meets her and he's like, yeah, today is quite bussin'. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, bro. The cringe is insane at certain parts. You also get established to that cringy ass love triangle between Joe Jr., I believe his name is. He's sort of the bad boy character of the group. He's the one who sort of causes some bad things to happen to Devin. And of course, Devin likes Frankie. And that love triangle is very obvious, very corny, very Riverdale-ish. It's very on the nose, where there's sort of these very awkward silences. Joe's got his arm around Frankie and sort of just acting like the big dog, but then he's also getting very insecure and nervous with the relationship that they have. Even Devin gets like extra cringy dialogue when he's in front of Frankie, which is expected. They have a conversation about her doing TikToks and him stalking her on TikToks, but not stalking her on TikTok. What the fuck ever, dude? Who gives a fuck? And then Cece's, her personality is very strange. She's very like super organic and no chemicals, and hey man, is all about the kombucha, man. Let's get with the environment, man. She like steals at one point within like a local CVS or Walgreens, and this girl who's also a part of this teenage group is said to be like a thief or criminal. So when she enters the store owner is basically telling her to get out because that girl is known as a criminal for stealing. And she pulls out her phone and she's like, this is discrimination. You can't discriminate against me. I'm gonna start recording you. And then the store owner starts recording her, and then Cece steals some lip gloss or something that she gets threatened later by that same criminal girl when they meet each other at the park. What is the point of some of this useless mellow teen drama, bro? I swear, some of these character relationships is just like, who gives a shit? There is some cringy dialogue that it's just flat out cringe. There is no other way to say it. Maybe you guys are more used to that type of shitty writing or shitty character acting, but it's cringe, bro. It's that typical sort of Gen Z on the nose kind of played up caricature humor, and I can't stand that shit when I see it, especially when there are natural acting good characters with good dialogue, such as Devin when he's in the presence of his father. Anthony Brewer, David Schwimmer, is obviously doing a great job acting. And the guy who plays CJ has no cringy acting. He's pretty much natural humor, natural personality, and I like his presence when he's on screen. So yeah, the teenager acting is just off to an ass start. The dialogue is ass. I don't really care much about the modern music. It's not that big a deal for me. They played like Espresso and $1 Million Baby. It felt fine, felt typical for what it was. It's mainly just the teenagers acting. They are not a strong group. They have a lot of cringy moments. And compared to the first season, I don't want to do too much of that, but I have to give credit where credit is due. The characters in the first season, at least feel like now in retrospect compared to this, that they had more unique personalities. They were more standout. In this case, they feel much more like your Fear Street type of wannabe Riverdale. Like, these feel more like straight up caricature, straight up stereotypes, less like characters. The only character so far which has felt more so natural is again CJ, and more so Devin, because Devin's had more exploring with this character and building relationship with his father. So yeah, overall, what do I give this episode? I'm going to give this first episode a 6.5 out of 10, which means it's average. It's decent. There are some good parts to it. I have to give it credit there. Again, that's why it gets a 6.5. There are some decent moments with the horror, decent moments with some body horror and some planned action. And there is some good acting points. Sorry, I got a bad cough. I'm a little sick. But that negative parts of the teenage acting, the caricatures, the slower pacing at certain points, it does weigh down this episode. Again, it's part 1 of Stay Out of the Basement, so part 2 I'm going to be watching right after this. So let's see how that ends off. But it's off to an average, decent start. Not the most impressive opening, not the biggest bang. There are some weaknesses compared to season 1 having, I guess, more established characters and some bigger bang scenes such as the football scene. Here it's a little bit more subdued, but overall this episode is off to a better start than what we got the first season. So that's all I got for this one. Look forward, as I'm going to be binging through the show as much as I can for the next few days. I'll be recording reviews for each of the episodes and then scheduling them to drop periodically throughout the week. So look forward to that. The next basically 8 videos I make, including this one, are just going to be based off the show. That's all I got for today. If you like this video and you're ready for more of this show's episode reviews to drop by me, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment down below. Have you seen the first episode? Have you seen a bit about the show? Do not spoil, but tell me what you think about it so far down in the comments below. Or are you excited for it? Or just leave something nice, especially when your boy's a little under the weather. But I'm going to bear through it to pump out content for y'all. That's all I got. Deuces.
アリーベデルチ